Welcome to Watching the Game. I'm your host, Idrees and Yunis, joined today by Yunis Vroeg. Today, we would like to start with the group stage of the Champions League wrapping up with, I think, the biggest surprise was Manchester United crashing out and going back to Europa because they're useless and they can't win a game when things really matter.
It's the United curse, man.
I don't know how they choked this group, but they just completely choked it. And, unreal. I mean, they had this group in the bag. They won their first game, they beat PSG, and then they wrecked Leipzig in the second game. Goal differential +6 going into the third game. And then they lose to Istanbul. It's like, okay, whatever. Then they beat them again. So it's like literally all they needed from the last two games was one point. 1 point. And they couldn't get it. These bums. I actually thought they were going to come back like they have been the past few games. When they were down 3-0, I was like, oh my god, they're about to come back. And they did start coming back. They got a soft penalty, as they always do. It's really weird Pogba header goal. But then they couldn't score at the end. And now they're going back.
And I think as a result of this, I mean, if you've seen that Paul Pogba's agent is going to send him elsewhere. And I think United is going to focus on their youngsters, led by Bruno Fernandes.
I mean, they were saying that, but then Pogba comes in, scores a goal, almost helps them come back. So I thought that was funny. At the same time, I just think they are screwed right now. And Ole's going to get fired soon because you just can't blow that. Nobody wants to be in Europa, and they've been in Europa now, 2 of the past 3 years?
Yeah.
Just complete choke job.
And another of the main headlines of this week's Champions League match day 6 is PSG and Istanbul's interesting Tuesday matchup. Will you explain what happened?
I'm not sure what the ref said, but apparently the ref said something that was racist. And then the dudes all walked off. They were like, this is some bullshit. You shouldn't do that. And they all agreed, let's walk off. And they walked off. And then they had to play the game the next day without that ref. So good on them. But maybe Istanbul shouldn't have showed up for the second game because they got wrecked. Neymar put up a hat trick. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, Neymar pulled up with a hat trick, Mbappe with 2, and PSG blows out Istanbul 5-1.
Right, another choke job from yesterday, or was it a couple days ago? So Barcelona went into the final match day up on Juve. Both were already going through. All they needed to do, though, this was just for first place. And all Barcelona had to do was not lose by 3 goals, and they lost by 3 goals. Because they had beaten Barca the first time. I mean, they had beaten Juve the first time 2-0. All they needed to do was not lose by 3 goals, and they would go through as the one. But instead, they lost by 3 goals, even though 2 of them were penalties, but still. Their defense was atrocious. And now they have to play a much tougher opponent than had they just gotten the top spot. They have to play one of like Bayern or Dortmund or Chelsea or Man City, I think.
And their opponent is going to be a tough one. And if they don't play strong as a team, it's going to be difficult for them to win out.
With PK out, they have the worst defense I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally led by Longley. That's literally it.
McKennie's goal, he was wide open. And the 2 penalties they gave up, they're probably lucky they didn't give up. They only gave up 3 goals, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at their starting defense, they have Serginho Dest at right back, Arujo and Langley in center back, and Alba at left back. That defense is not looking
Who the
too
hell
good.
is Arujo? I don't
I don't know,
who the
some
guy is.
youngster from their academy.
That's when you know you're screwed. You can't have random people nobody knows on your team starting these big games. I wouldn't be surprised if Barca crashed out right away. That's just the way they've been.
If Barca crashes down, you think Coleman's getting fired?
Yeah. That's what they'll do nowadays. Just fire a manager every year. It wouldn't even matter because Messi won't even be here.
Yeah.
Dortmund got the top spot in the group, and Lazio got second over Club Brugge. So that was nice to see. It's not fair. Lazio should have David Silva, but he spurned them. That was kind of bogus.
And Dortmund growing by the year, having their youngsters show off, Haaland, Sancho, and soon to be Gio Reyna.
Sevilla is not going to be in the Europa League this year, so I guess that's a positive if Man U wants to win. Remember, they lost to Sevilla last year.
Yep.
Another 2 teams fighting for second in their group because Liverpool had gotten first. Ajax and Atalanta. Atalanta beat Ajax, who was down a man. Someone got a red. So Ajax is going to Europa. Atalanta's into the next round. Italy did pretty good.
Yeah.
Italian team, Serie A did pretty good, except for one team.
Just one.
Just one team that just shat the bed. Okay, to be honest, Group B was probably the weirdest group out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of these results. First off, Real got swept by Shakhtar. Like, I don't think anybody knows who's on that team. They got swept by them. I don't know why. I don't know how.
Then they moved to Bangladesh.
They tied with Mönchengladbach the first time. Also, like, they needed a comeback that game. And then they wrecked them the other day. And they also swept Inter. And then Inter, they lost to Real twice. They tied twice. But they also beat Mönchengladbach and Shakhtar. Actually, no, they tied with Shakhtar twice.
Yeah, they tied with Shakhtar twice. I mean, Group B was definitely an interesting group. Everyone expected Real to come out on top in a much better way than that actually happened.
Yeah, they kind of didn't play their best. They should have done better. But, I mean, as long as you get through, it is what it is. So now I'm wondering, I thought Inter was going to be damn good this year, but now I have questions. I don't really think so anymore. Conte could be gone at the end of the year. Completely missing Europe. That's a big L. And then in Group A, Bayern ran through the group easily, but then you had a battle for second yesterday between Atletico and Salzburg. Honestly, the second Atletico scored the first goal in this game, I turned it off because I knew at that point it was over. Because that's just how they play. They're not going to let you score any goals, and then the second they score one, you sure as hell aren't scoring any.
Atletico, one of the better defensive groups.
I want to see them choke the same way Man U did. Fortunately, they did not. I
mean, hey, they beat Liverpool last year, but weren't able to capitalize.
They got lucky. At least that's what I think. They got lucky.
Yeah, because Adrian at goal is the worst decision Liverpool can ever make.
Well, I mean, at some point, you just can't be stacked at every position. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there it is. It is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about Europa. I see. Trying to figure out who I think will win. I want to say Man U, but you know how they are.
Yeah, definitely.
Ajax maybe. Shakhtar maybe.
Yeah, if you look at the guaranteed Europa League spots, they gave it to Salzburg, Shakhtar, Olympiacos, Ajax, Krasnodar, Club Brugge, Dynamo Kiev, and Man U.
Honestly, I want to go with I think my top 5 to win it all. Let's see. Okay, top 5 to win it all. I would go Man U, no particular order. Man U, Shakhtar, who else? Man U, Shakhtar, AC Milan, Arsenal, and Tottenham, yeah. Tottenham's definitely up there. They've been super dominant lately. They could win Premier League, but I hope not. That would be very annoying.
We're currently on top of Antwerp, 1-0.
They already won their group, so I don't think it even matters. So it's kind of crazy that they're top of the Premier League right now, tied with Liverpool.
Yeah, their Premier League season has been pretty good this year so
Jose's
far.
finally gotten the team he needs.
Yes, sir. Gareth Bale was the move.
I don't even think Bale is doing that much. It's just Son and Kane have been insane this year.
They've been going off. Son has been triggered that they got Bale, so he wants to make it prove a point.
Everton's cooled after that super hot start. Obviously, Liverpool's dealing with a lot of injuries, but still at the top, so that's very good. Chelsea's been very good. Leicester has been good.
Led by
Southampton's
Vardy.
been surprising. I know a lot of people were saying they could be better this year, but so far they've been 5th in the league right now. I like that. Arsenal's playing like crap in Premier League, which is funny because they're wrecking Europa. And then Man U and Man City back and forth at 6th and 7th. Both of them have to do a lot better. Maybe, if anything, at least being in Europa means Man U can focus a little more on the Premier League.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Manchester Derby's actually this Saturday.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun. Which team is more incompetent right now? Definitely not the bald fraud. Alright, moving on. Let's talk some college hoops. They had the ACC Big Ten Challenge this week. And I want to say the Big Ten won by a lot, but they didn't really. It's kind of annoying. So, let's see. So first off, there was a big game Sunday. Villanova played Texas. That ended up being a pretty close game. Villanova won 68-64. I think a good bounce back for Nova because they had lost to VTech the week before.
Yeah.
Kentucky has lost 3 in a row. They are playing like garbage right now.
Yeah, they need to pick up the slack.
Soon. I mean, both Duke and Kentucky have started off badly, but Kentucky, it's been a lot worse. They lost to Georgia Tech and Richmond. At least Duke lost to 2 top 10 teams.
Yeah, those are definitely not 2 teams you want to lose against. You have to prove yourself in the beginning of the season. Beat the easy teams in advance.
Mm-hmm. Then we had the Big Ten ACC Challenge. So I think the biggest game was Illinois over Duke, 83-68. Duke's gonna get better down the stretch, but right now, I would venture to say this is more of an Illinois great game than a Duke is bad game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Andre Curbelo was just saucing it that game. I mean, oof. He was dancing all around them. He looks really good. It's funny because Mike Krzyzewski was saying we need to have a season this year, and then they lost this game, and then he was like, maybe we shouldn't be playing during a pandemic during the holidays. I was like, bruh, why you gotta be like that?
Trying to be a sore loser.
Anjad. Honestly, the first day the Big Ten lost 1 game. And it was because Purdue blew a 20-point lead to Miami. Miami's always part of weird games. Like last year, they were up 30 on Illinois. And then Illinois came back and almost literally just missed a 3-pointer that could have won at the buzzer. I don't trust either one of those teams. I think both of them are going to be bad this year.
And yesterday there was an interesting matchup between Indiana and FSU.
Yeah, FSU hit a game-winning floater, I guess I would say. Honestly, for what FSU is, they shouldn't be going down to the wire with Indiana. Indiana has a couple great players, but they're not that good.
I mean, I'd give them some slack. It's only their second game of the year.
Still, you expect excellence. You know what I'm saying? Expect better. I mean, at least it's not as bad as what happened to Virginia Tech. Like I said, they beat Villanova last week. Everyone's like, oh wait, maybe they are good this year. And then they got bodied by Penn State. They lost by 20.
Yeah, that was sad.
I mean, first of all, Penn State's playing pretty well considering everyone was like writing them off for the season. Lamar Stevens is gone. They're not going to be good. They've been playing pretty well. But even then, you should not be losing to this team. I don't really trust Virginia Tech anymore.
Baylor beat Stephen Austin yesterday.
Oh yeah, I wish that game came down. Like last year, remember Stephen F. Austin actually beat Duke at the buzzer. I thought maybe we'd have a repeat, but no.
But they got blown out.
Have to stay boring. I gotta say, USC, Evan Mobley has been very good. I keep seeing him stack up points and rebounds for them. He's going to be a top pick this year. He's looking really good. But back to more relevant teams. Better teams. Rutgers beat Syracuse. This is just pouring on to the fact that the Big Ten is amazing this year, and they wrecked the ACC. Just completely dominated them, especially the first day. What else? The other big ranked game from Tuesday was Iowa beating North Carolina 93-80. I think Iowa hit like 15 threes this game.
Yeah, it's surprising that they're 4-0 so far this year. A huge part of that is by
I
Garza.
don't know if I would say it's surprising. I think a lot of people thought they would be very good. But that 3-point barrage they laid on North Carolina was crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Did Luka Garza play
Yeah, he did.
again?
He wasn't like Bohannon was the guy who went off. Garza was just, he only had 16 points actually. Wasn't his best game. I like North Carolina, but they're not a top 10 team nearly. I don't know if I would say they'll compete for the title.
Yeah, I don't think they're a top 10 team yet. They play Ohio State on Saturday. Next
That
Saturday.
could be good. Those are two decent teams. I mean, Ohio State beat Notre Dame 90-85. They're ranked 22. North Carolina's ranked 16. It should be a good test for both of them. A non-Big Ten ACC Challenge game from Tuesday that was huge was Kansas-Creighton. That was actually a really fun game. Went back and forth the whole way. Kansas goes up late in the game. Creighton makes it a 3-point game at the end. They get a 3-point shot. They get fouled. The guy hits the first 2 free throws, misses the third, and the game's over. Really brutal. At the same
It would
time,
have been nice to see Creighton on top.
it's Marcus Zagorowski who missed it, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. He was really good last year. I do like both those teams as championship contenders. Maybe not on the level of Gonzaga or Baylor or Illinois, but they're near there.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
The second day, the ACC won more games. Pitt came back because Northwestern absolutely choked. That game was terrible. They just completely choked it away. Clemson beat Maryland. We were talking about this in the preview. Maryland's not going to be that good this year. They lost a lot from last season. Richmond beat Northern Iowa. Thought that was interesting because a lot of people always peg Northern Iowa as a great team. They'll definitely win the Missouri Valley, but I think Loyola's got it this year.
Another run incoming from Loyola?
I am down. That would be very fun. I think that about... Not that many other big games from that day. Unfortunately, like, the Michigan State Virginia game, they had to push it back. There were a bunch of positives. But it is what it is. There'll be some good games during the weekend. I think you got Florida State on during the weekend. Oh, that might be it, honestly. Oh, Illinois, Missouri. Missouri's pretty good. And Richmond, West Virginia. Those are a couple games to go for. Oh, Baylor, Texas.
That should be an interesting one.
Yeah. Alright, let's move on now. Let's talk a little bit about this NFL week that took forever again. So Steelers are no longer undefeated. I'm not even
I
gonna
mean,
lie.
you
I picked them to
predicted.
lose this. I picked them to lose this, and I can show you guys the receipts. But
Yes, guys, we predicted this 1 or 2 episodes ago. We predicted that the football team will upset the Steelers. Go back and rewind.
it just seemed like the perfect like trap game. They had been struggling for a while. Washington was kind of hot. Steelers always play down to competition sometimes. This was just bound to happen.
Yeah, this was, I agree with you. It was the perfect game to expose Pittsburgh. Not who you think they are.
I still think they'll make it to the AFC Championship game. I just think right now they're not as guaranteed to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, at the moment, I still see the Chiefs as the better team, even when they were still undefeated.
Yeah, I agree. And then the Browns beat the Titans. This game was not as close as the score directs. Like in the end, it makes sense, but at some point the Browns were up 38-7. It ended 41-35, but
Tennessee almost came back with another
they did.
miracle comeback.
They did, but the bigger story is that Baker Mayfield absolutely carved up the Titans.
Yeah, 330 yards passing, 4 touchdowns.
They dared him to beat them deep, and he beat them deep.
Yep, the run game didn't have to do too much. 130 yards rushing as a team.
Was there a Bears game on Sunday? I don't remember. Was there a Bears game? I don't like.
I think it was another choke. We
Oh,
ran out the Atlanta Falcons.
that game just off, killing me, man. Just killing me. I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to talk about it. Clean house. Don't
Yeah, let's
blow
just
it up.
move on
Don't
to the
blow
next
it all
game.
up, but clean house. That was just oof.
Highlight of the game: Stafford 400 passing
No,
yards
no, there is no
and a
highlights. They're
game-winning
all low
touchdown.
lights. Low lights. It's all low lights.
Well, the real highlight of the game is Bilal Nichols, the best defensive lineman of the week, rated by PFF.
Facts. Bilal Nichols is lit. At least let's move on to a bigger dumpster fire, aka the Jets. Who I don't
They
know.
had hope. They
There's
had hope.
okay. Let's talk about what happened. They're up 28-24. They get a stop. They think they've got the game won, but the Raiders are gonna get the ball back with like 30 seconds. Whatever. They probably won't score with that amount of time. 15 seconds left. The Raiders are at the 45-yard line. My man Greg Williams, decides he's playing Madden suddenly. He's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna blitz. He
I
blitzes
think I have the
everyone.
best linebackers in the game.
He blitzes it the first time, actually. The Raiders almost score, but they don't. Even a 12-year-old playing Madden would be like, you know what? That was actually pretty close. I'm not gonna blitz again. This guy's like, no, no, no. Not only are we gonna blitz 7 guys, we're gonna press coverage on each of their receivers, including Henry Ruggs, possibly the fastest player in the league after Tyreek Hill. We're gonna press coverage them, nobody over the top. And now you're saying, oh wait, that's only 10 guys. Where's the 11th guy? Well, the 11th guy, you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna QB spy Derek Carr because they're scared he's gonna run for a 50-yard touchdown on them.
They're scared he's the next Kyler Murray.
I want to say that he did this on purpose so they would tank. I want to say that. Because at this point, they're out of the
Definitely did it.
playoffs. They might as well get the top pick, whatever. I want to say that. But the dude got fired. The dude was going to get fired at the end of the season anyway. Him tanking does nothing for anyone. Like, it's not coaches or players who tank. It's the GMs, it's the front offices that tank. What was this man thinking? If some other
And
team hires
Carr
him as
didn't
defensive
look
coordinator.
It was literally he floated the ball in there. It was easier for Ruggs to make the catch and end the game.
If some team hires this guy as a defensive coordinator, should fire the GM on the spot for doing that. This guy's done. Just awful. And the Raiders, by the way, the Raiders are not suddenly good now because they won that game. No. Sure, they're 7-5, but I promise you, of all the teams competing for a playoff spot in the AFC, I have the least faith in them. I think they'll finish 7-9, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to win a close game to the Jets. You're supposed to blow them out. Raiders defense, there's no hope in them. There's absolutely no hope. Derek Carr is pretty inconsistent. Only bright side to that team is Darren Waller.
Just, people were saying, "Oh yeah, the Raiders. Look at them. This would be the second year in a row they would collapse." I just have more faith in the Ravens. I have more faith in all the teams that are already in the playoff picture. I have more faith even in the Patriots than them.
Yeah, the Patriots surprisingly on a hot run. Is it a 5-game win streak or so?
They rocked the Chargers. If you watch the highlights of this game where they beat the Chargers 45-0, it's not even like, oh, they picked off Herbert 20 times or they just they gained like 500 yards of offense. No. Everyone was saying this. This was the worst, by the advanced DVOA metrics, this was the worst special teams performance ever. Ever. This is why special teams is important, even though it may not be offense or defense. Let me run over the list of things that happened. They gave up a punt return for a touchdown. They gave up.
You're referring to
the
worst special team by the Chargers.
Yeah. They gave up another 50-plus yard punt return. They missed the field goal. They might have missed 2, but I'm pretty sure they definitely missed 1. And then another one, they got blocked and returned for a touchdown on them. And then 3 separate times.
When you think of that game, you think of 2 things. One, on the Chargers side, okay, Herbert's worst game of the season so far. 2, reflect and you say, okay, Cam Newton is not the same guy we expected him to be after that injury to shoulder. This season he's been proving that, you know. He only ended the game with 69 yards passing and a touchdown.
Okay, I want to
also game two touchdowns.
I know he hasn't been that good.
Scheme, man.
I know he hasn't been good, but they've been like somewhat effective. They've been somewhat effective to where he should get another chance next year, whether it be with the Patriots or another team.
And I totally agree. I mean, it was a wild off season. Obviously, he's not going to be 100% in sync with the play calling and all. Like, I expected him to struggle. I did. I don't think he's a passing quarterback at all. Shoulders, I don't know if his shoulder can hold up.
I think he'll bounce back, but you know, that's just how I think. The Colts beat the Texans because the Texans were driving down the field, and on the last play of the game, there was a bad snap, and the Colts recovered on the goal line, basically. That's just a huge.
Just say Deshaun Watson is gonna
for Deshaun Watson. Just imagine if he was on a team with a lot of help, like, I don't know, the Bears. You know, just imagine that.
Imagine with a better defense, let's say a bit better offensive line,
better running back, I guess. Not trading your best receiver for a bag of potato chips. You know, with all that, I would venture to say he would be even better. Maybe they would even be winning games. But no.
Sadly, Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson agreed to a deal before the year started.
Forget that, bro. Ryan Pace is the problem.
An interesting game this past Sunday. The Jaguars forced overtime on the Vikings. Think about that, Glenn.
The Vikings this year are an enigma. They'll look amazing this one week, and then they'll be going toe-to-toe with the Cowboys or the Jaguars the next week. And somehow they're going to beat the Saints on Christmas. You just know it's going to happen. Everyone knows it's going to happen. They're just going to somehow beat the Saints. Everyone's like, how? And it's just because they're the Vikings.
And going back to Cam Newton, he has a tough test tonight. The Patriots play Thursday night against the Rams.
Yes.
And the Rams, as you know, have a very good defense. So what do you think is going to happen tonight?
The Rams beat the Cardinals 38-28 last game. I think this game's going to be low scoring. I think the Patriots are going to win. Remember, this is a rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. I think Belichick's going to outcoach McVay again. He's going to win again.
Oh, wow. I think if the Patriots pull it off, it'll be considered an upset.
Something considered like 13-10.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting a low-scoring game, especially from a very stout Rams defense and poor passing offense by the Patriots.
I mean, the Rams could also get a stronghold on number one in the NFC West because the Seahawks, they also pulled their typical we're going to randomly lose a weird game against the Giants. And Colt McCoy was the quarterback. I don't know how the hell they lost, but they are destroying Russell Wilson's MVP chances.
Colt McCoy is the reason they flexed the game against the Browns to Sunday night.
People are being like, oh, look, they flexed out the Cowboys for the Browns. No. They flexed out the Cowboys for the Giants. They didn't flex them out for the Browns. They care about the big market of New York. If the Browns were playing another good team, but like, let's see. If the Browns were playing the Cardinals, even that, say they were playing the Cardinals, they would not have flexed that game out. Even though the Cardinals are better than the Giants. That's just how it was.
Aaron Rodgers goes over 400 passing touchdowns with the win against the Eagles, 30-16. And big news for the Eagles. Carson Wentz finally gets benched. What do you think?
Yeah, last thing before we move on to college football. Carson Wentz. Oof. I'm not going to suddenly say, oh, this is the end of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. I think he's going to be back next year. Hell, I think he could probably be starting at the end of the season, too. But, like, that was bad. He's been really bad this year. I think he'll bounce back next year. I really do. I think the only team that could actually trade for him, maybe the Colts. Because Frank Reich was his coach a few years ago.
Rivers has another year or two up his sleeve?
I don't know. And even if he does, I think they know they can do better. Frank Reich, Carson Wentz was at his best when he had Frank Reich. So maybe they can... Because if you get Wentz back to playing at his MVP form, or even the way he was playing last year where he was good, then you don't really have that big of a problem. I also don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be the future for the Eagles.
But yeah, like I said, sorry to Jalen Hurts, but he's not going to win this game.
I would still be surprised if they made any drastic change at QB during the offseason. Like, I would be surprised if they picked someone or traded Wentz. Otherwise, should be the status quo in Philadelphia. Alright, let's talk last segment of the day. Quick talk about some of the big college football games from the weekend. Friday night, Louisiana beat Appalachian State. I like Louisiana. Pretty solid team. But bigger game. Texas A&M beat Auburn in this really funky Bo Nix game, where he made a couple of really good plays, but then some also really bad plays. That dude is like Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, as much. He's literally the exact replica of Trubisky.
He was so hyped, but I don't know about him right now.
Notre Dame wins their last game at home. Ian Book goes off for 3 touchdowns. Javon McKinley for 100 receiving yards and had all three of those touchdowns.
Notre Dame gonna. It would be incredible if Notre Dame somehow missed the playoff at this point. I will. And then what else was there? Indiana beat Wisconsin 14-6. Yeah, Wisconsin sucks.
Can we talk about Devontae Smith's Madden type game?
Penix was out, but Devontae Smith. Oof. LSU, they're decent. They're not good this year, but what Devontae Smith did was insane. That one-handed catch on Stingley, even though Stingley was all over him, wow.
Think he'd be ranked the number 1 receiver in the upcoming draft?
If Chase hasn't played this year and Waddle was injured, I could totally see him becoming the first receiver off the board. It's possible.
Ohio State crushes Michigan State 52-12.
Yeah, that was expected, And then we had 2 amazing games during the weekend. Missouri beat Arkansas 50-48 on a game-winning field goal. Missouri's pretty good this year. But wow, what a game. Because Arkansas got this really crazy 2-point conversion to take the lead, and then Missouri drove down the field, got a field goal to win it. I respect that. But I think the game of the year was a game that we didn't even know was going to happen until Thursday, where Coastal Carolina upset BYU 22-17. Because Zach Wilson's pass to his receiver was stopped at the 1-yard line. That game was.
And if only BYU.
I know people are going to try to use this against Zach Wilson, be like, oh, look, he played a good defense and he wasn't that good. He was pretty good. But Coastal Carolina kept him off the field with their rushing attack. For some reason, BYU ran the ball too much. He took them down the field on the last drive. He almost scored. So if anything, he's just solidifying himself as QB3 in the draft.
So out of the quarterbacks this year that have played a decent amount of games, which one do you think is the best under pressure, under great defenses?
would still have to say Lawrence. Lawrence is just the best, Remember when he tore up Alabama a couple years ago? He did well against Ohio State last year. I just think he's still the best guy. But I do think Fields is number 2. Very close number 2. I think I could totally see Ian Book win Heisman. Just because Fields hasn't played enough games. Lawrence has missed a few games. I don't think they should give it to Mac Jones. Maybe Devontae Smith.
I'd be fine if they gave it to Najee Harris.
Or him. Kyle Trask could be in on it too.
But I don't think, even though I'm a Notre Dame fan, I don't think they're gonna give it to Ian Book.
Yeah, I would. My opinion, I would go with Kyle Trask at this point, especially if they win next week. Honestly,
who do they play next week?
The championship weekend. They're gonna play Alabama.
Yep. He'd probably definitely get it if they somehow upset Alabama.
My friend, I would not say somehow. I would say it's definitely possible.
It is possible.
Go back to my college football playoff predictions at the beginning of the year. I said Clemson, Ohio State, Florida, Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State, yeah, that didn't work out. But Florida ain't that far. They just need to beat Alabama and not somehow lose to LSU this week, which would be hilarious. But, they're not going to. They just need to beat Bama. And they're Gucci. they should be another new team in the playoff, which we haven't had a lot of. But it would be good to see some new blood. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, if Florida finds a way to get through, that would be a fan's choice.
I'm just saying, like that, like their defense isn't great. It has some talent, but their offense is insane. Just Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney. I don't think you can beat that. Anyway.
Only the Bears beat contrast, am I right?
No. Zach Wilson or Justin Fields.
Why are you against Trask?
We'll talk about that more when we're closer to the draft. Anyway, that wraps us up for today. We will be back with you soon. Signing off, and have a good one.